India's drugs regulator has ordered Johnson & Johnson to stop manufacturing its baby powder using raw materials currently in 2 of its Indian factories. The manufacturing has been stopped until the test results prove that the product and the samples are free of asbestos. The Drugs Controller General of India has ordered the company not to use the talc raw material from its Mulund plant in Mumbai and the Baddi unit in Himachal Pradesh for any production till further directions. The drug inspectors collected samples of Johnson & Johnson's baby powder from the 2 plants on Wednesday amid reports that the product allegedly contained cancer-causing asbestos. Over 100 samples were collected from wholesalers, retailers and distributors across the country. They will also be tested to check if they match the regulatory and manufacturing standards, apart from the presence of asbestos. In fact, over the next 4 to 5 days, drug inspectors will be collecting samples of all brands of Johnson & Johnson talcum powder from wholesalers and distributors from as many as 12 to 15 locations across the country for testing. A team of 100 drug inspectors have been deployed for the purpose. Remember, Reuters news agency had reported earlier that Johnson & Johnson knew for decades that its baby powder samples contain cancer-causing asbestos. The controversy has triggered massive concerns in India, with the pharma giant having a large customer base in the country.
From the birth of my baby, Johnson was one product which I did not have to rethink. I used it ever since the birth of both my kids. So that's a shocking news. I wanted to switch. I don't want to switch to any other product, but still, if this news is correct, then I'll have to switch.
And the pharmaceutical giant has seen its share of controversy earlier as well. In August this year itself, India's health ministry found serious negligence on part of the company after its faulty hip implants caused metal poisoning and other complications in several patients. Johnson & Johnson was held responsible for not warning the patients of the potential harms posed by the orthopedic implants and the delay in discontinuing sale in India. The hip replacement device was recalled globally in 2010. But no warning was given to patients in India. The central government had asked the Indian arm of Johnson & Johnson to pay compensation to the patients affected by the faulty hip implants. In September, Johnson & Johnson had agreed to compensate the people who were fitted with that faulty device. Indian government and the pharma firm had agreed to a formula based on the percentage of disability, age factor and the risk factor. According to that formula, Indian patients affected by the implants would get as much as 1.2 crore rupees each. The minimum compensation, according to the formula, in case of a disability, was agreed to be 33 lakh rupees. But now Johnson & Johnson has done a complete U-turn. They've petitioned the Delhi High Court, challenging the government's order on the company paying compensation. And the irony of it all is that the company is in the process of settling thousands of lawsuits globally. Johnson & Johnson is willing to pay more than $400 million to settle some of those cases. But it is now trying to wriggle out of paying compensation in India. On that story, let's get in further perspectives from Dr. Sonia Wilson, dermatologist at the Rock Hospital, joining us from Dubai. Thanks very much, Dr. Sonia, for speaking with us here on Wion. It, of course, is a case which has led to widespread concern across India. Now, Johnson & Johnson pitches itself as a product for women and children, as a reputed brand. As some reports are indicating, cancer-causing asbestos are present in the baby powder. First of all, how do you react to those reports?
The report that ordinary talcum powder is contaminated with asbestos is definitely alarming, considering the large amount of people who are using it. The International Agency for Research on Cancer has classified talc contaminated with asbestos as carcinogenic to human beings. Talc without asbestos may be not carcinogenic, but the use of any talcum powder on the genital area is considered carcinogenic.
Right, and while Johnson & Johnson may be, of course, it's clarifying that, it's saying that none of those products actually contain asbestos, but what about medical authorities? If a brand has been there for this long, are there no regular checks? How does something like this get missed?
It is definitely not acceptable to be using asbestos-contaminated talc in any form as a powder for any age, for that matter. It's already proven, so there is no question about that, and there should be more control to make sure that none of the cosmeceuticals are contaminated with asbestos-containing talc.